Liam transferred to our school last August. He was cute, smart, and actually nice without trying too hard. I got this massive crush on him right away and told my friend Isabella about it. She was super supportive when I told her. She was like, OMG, you guys would be perfect together, and helped me figure out what to text him. We'd analyze his responses together, and she kept telling me I should go for it. I'd known Isabella since freshman year when we got paired for a biology project. We weren't like best friends or anything, but we hung out sometimes on weekends and had most of the same classes. She always seemed supportive, helping me with math homework, inviting me to parties, that kind of stuff. I totally trusted her, which makes everything that happened so much worse. Liam and I started talking more by October. He'd wait for me after chem class, and we'd walk to lunch together. Nothing major, but I was seriously falling for him. Isabella kept asking for details about our conversations, which I thought was just her being a good friend. One time he complimented my presentation in history class, and I literally texted Isabella from the bathroom immediately after. She replied with all these heart emojis and said, he's definitely into you. She even helped me pick out my outfit for the next day. I spent like 2 hours trying on different sweaters while FaceTiming her. My mom noticed how much time I was spending getting ready for school and kept teasing me about having a crush. I didn't tell her about Liam though. My parents are the type who'd want to meet him immediately and analyze everything, which would have been mortifying. In November, I finally got brave enough to ask him to a movie. Isabella helped me draft the text, telling me exactly what to say. I was so nervous that I had to close my eyes when I hit send. He took forever to respond and just said, sorry, was busy on Sunday night. Then Monday at school, he basically ignored me. I was confused until Wednesday when Chloe came up to me at my locker asking if I was stalking Liam. I laughed it off until she told me Isabella had been telling everyone I was obsessed with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend? I had no idea they were even talking. That afternoon, I saw them together in the parking lot. He had his arm around her waist. When she saw me looking, she whispered something to him, and they both laughed. I felt like such an idiot. I couldn't even focus in class the rest of the day. My English teacher, Mr. Davis, asked if I was feeling okay because I kept staring out the window instead of participating in the discussion. I mumbled something about not sleeping well, and he left me alone. That night, I couldn't stop crying. My brother, Leo, heard me through the wall and knocked on my door asking if I was okay. I told him it was just period stuff to make him go away. I didn't want anyone to know how stupid I felt. I confronted Isabella the next day at lunch. I was shaking so much I could barely hold my tray. I asked her how long she'd been dating Liam, and she just casually told me they'd been together since September. September, the whole time she was helping me text him, they were already dating. When I asked why she pretended to help me, if she knew I had no chance, she just shrugged and said she thought it was better than telling me to back off. She didn't even seem to think she'd done anything wrong. I just stood there with my lunch tray, feeling like everyone was watching us. By Friday, the rumors were everywhere. According to Isabella, I'd been desperately chasing Liam, even though I knew they were dating. She showed people our text conversations about him, twisting everything to make me look crazy. I started skipping lunch because I couldn't deal with the stares. My parents noticed I wasn't eating and started asking questions. I told them I was just stressed about upcoming tests. Dad even made my favorite pasta dinner that weekend to cheer me up, which just made me feel worse for lying. My friend Olivia sent me screenshots of a group chat where Isabella and her friends were talking about my obsession. Liam was in it too, calling me that weird girl who wouldn't leave him alone. I wanted to die. I deleted all my social media apps from my phone for the weekend. Mom kept asking why I was so quiet, and I just blamed it on period cramps again. I spent most of Saturday in bed watching TikTok and ignoring texts. My friend Mia invited me to a movie, but I made up an excuse about family obligations. I couldn't risk running into Isabella or Liam. December sucked. Someone wrote stalker on my locker. My lab partner Noah asked to switch because he heard things. When I tried telling Chloe my side, she cut me off saying Isabella had warned her I'd make up stuff. In chemistry, we had to do group work and nobody wanted me in their group. The teacher had to assign me to a team, and they barely spoke to me the whole period. One girl literally moved her chair away from me like I had some contagious disease. The holiday dance was coming up and I had already bought a ticket before all this happened. I ended up giving it to my brother's friend and telling my parents I had too much homework to go. They were concerned about me becoming antisocial but didn't push it. I spent winter break hiding from everyone. My cousin came to visit for Christmas, and even though we usually get along great, I barely talked to her. My aunt kept asking my mom if I was going through something, and I overheard them talking about teenage depression one night when they thought I was asleep. When school started again in January, I tried to keep my head down, but Isabella kept making it worse. She and Liam would make out right in front of me. She'd text me stuff like, Liam thought your outfit was funny today, then deny sending anything. My dad sat me down one weekend and asked what was going on. He thought maybe I was using drugs or something. I almost laughed at how wrong he was. I ended up telling him I was just stressed about college applications, even though those were still months away. He seemed relieved it wasn't drugs and offered to help me research schools, which made me feel even more guilty about lying. In February, someone made a fake Instagram with my photo that sent creepy messages to Liam. Everyone assumed it was me. I got called to the counselor's office, and they called my parents. I kept saying it wasn't me, but no one believed me. My mom had to leave work early to come to school for a meeting. She was so confused and embarrassed. The counselor showed us the messages, and they were so cringe. Stuff like, I dream about you every night, and we're meant to be together. My mom kept saying, this doesn't sound like my daughter at all, but the counselor just gave her this pitying look like she was in denial. When we got home, mom tried to have a heart-to-heart about healthy relationships and obsession. I ended up screaming that I didn't do it, and slamming my door. We barely spoke for days after that. The only person who still talked to me was Olivia's freshman sister, Sophia. She believed me because Isabella had been mean to her before too. One day in March, I was at her house studying when she went to get snacks. Her Facebook was open on her laptop and I saw Isabella's name in a conversation with Olivia. I know I shouldn't have looked, but I couldn't help it. What I found made me sick. Isabella had told Liam she was pregnant to keep him from breaking up with her. She wasn't pregnant at all. She was faking morning sickness, making up doctor's appointments, and had sworn Olivia to secrecy. There were messages where Olivia asked about ultrasound pictures. Isabella had shown Liam, and Isabella admitted she got them from Google. She straight up told Olivia she wasn't pregnant, but needed Liam to stay with her. I took pictures of the conversation with my phone while Sophia was downstairs. I felt guilty for snooping, but also like I'd finally found proof that Isabella was a liar. When Sophia came back, I told her what I saw. She wasn't even surprised. She said lots of people knew, except Liam, and Isabella had threatened anyone who might tell him. I went home that day, feeling like I was carrying this huge secret. I couldn't focus on homework or even the shows I was watching. My mom asked if I was feeling okay because I barely touched dinner. I said I had a headache, which wasn't exactly a lie. My head was pounding from all the stress. I didn't know what to do with this information. Meanwhile, Isabella kept ruining my life. In April, she convinced our English teacher to move my seat because I was making her uncomfortable by looking at Liam. My mom and dad argued about it one night when they thought I couldn't hear. Mom wanted me to start fresh somewhere else, but dad said running away wouldn't solve anything and would teach me the wrong lesson. I sat at the top of the stairs listening to them fight about my future. Leo found me there and sat down next to me. He's only 14, but sometimes he seems smarter than me. He asked if I was okay, and for some reason I actually told him the truth about everything. The crush, Isabella's lies, the fake pregnancy, all of it. He just listened without interrupting, which was weird for him since he usually can't shut up. When I finished, he said Isabella sounded like a psycho, and I should tell Liam the truth. I explained how no one would believe me, and it would just make everything worse. He couldn't understand why I wouldn't just fight back. Then Liam posted this big prom proposal for Isabella on Instagram with the caption, "Can't wait to start our future with the mother of my child." Everyone was commenting, "Congrats about the baby," she snapped. She made an anonymous email and sent Liam all the screenshots from Olivia and Sophia's conversation. She showed him the fake ultrasound matched with the Google image. She included details only Isabella would know. She felt sick after she sent it. She couldn't sleep that night, just staring at her ceiling, wondering if she'd made everything worse. Her mom came in to check on her because her light was still on at 2 a.m. She pretended to have fallen asleep reading. 3 days later, everything exploded. Liam confronted Isabella, and she admitted the pregnancy was fake, but she semi-turned it around and said the protagonist had been plotting revenge because she was jealous. She claimed the protagonist catfished her to get her to reveal her secrets. Liam broke up with her, but that just made things worse. People were grossed out by her lie, but even more disgusted by what they saw as an obsessive investigation and cruel exposure of her personal stuff. Noah said in chem class that only a psycho would collect evidence for months just to destroy someone. Olivia confronted her about stealing conversations from her sister's computer, even though Sophia told her she showed them willingly. Her phone blew up with texts from numbers she didn't even recognize, calling her a psycho stalker and worse. Someone made a fake Twitter account with her name that posted creepy obsessive stuff. She showed her parents and they were horrified. Her dad wanted to go to the police, but her mom said there was no way to prove who was behind it. Last week, Isabella's parents complained to the school. The protagonist got suspended for cyberbullying and creating a hostile environment. Liam texted to thank her for telling him the truth, then blocked her on everything. Her mom cried when the principal called about the suspension. Her dad got so angry he had to leave the room during the meeting. When they got home, they argued again. Mom saying they should have switched schools when they had the chance. Dad saying the school was completely out of line, punishing her instead of Isabella. She locked herself in her room and put her headphones on so she wouldn't have to hear them fighting about her. Leo slipped a chocolate bar under her door with a note saying, "This sucks. Not your fault." It made her cry even harder. So she exposed someone who humiliated her and spread lies about her for months. She revealed a manipulation that was trapping someone in a relationship built on a huge lie. But now she's the toxic one. She's the villain. Is it ever okay to expose someone's secrets if they hurt you first? Because from where she was standing, the answer seemed to be no, no matter how justified she might have been. Update, we'll post more tomorrow. A lot has happened since then. Update. Thanks for all your comments. Reading them made me feel less alone, even if I'm still a mess about everything. Here's what's been happening since my suspension. My parents are taking this totally differently. Mom keeps scheduling meetings with the principal and threatening to call lawyers if they don't fix my suspension. Dad's more quiet, mad. He keeps saying the school is teaching me that standing up to liars gets punished. They're arguing constantly when they think I can't hear them. Mom thinks the school is handling everything wrong, but she also thinks I should have come to her before sending those screenshots to Liam. Dad says I did the right thing, exposing a liar, but he's worried about how this will affect my college applications. They both keep asking me if I'm okay, but in completely different tones. Mom all concerned and gentle. Dad trying to sound casual, but obviously worried. They got her suspension reduced from 2 weeks to 1, but going back to school Monday was awful. People weren't just whispering anymore, they straight up walked away when she approached. Her usual lunch table was suddenly full. When she tried to sit down, she ended up eating in the bathroom stall that first day back. She knows it's gross and pathetic, but she couldn't face the cafeteria again after that first rejection. She kept thinking about those scenes in movies where the outcast kid eats alone, except in movies they usually look all cool and unbothered. She just felt like crying the whole time. When she got home, her mom asked how her first day back was, and she lied and said it was fine. But then she went to the bathroom and threw up from the stress. Leo heard her and knocked on the door, asking if she was okay. She told him she maybe had food poisoning. He offered to make her toast, which was actually really sweet. The school counselor had the nerve to suggest she write Isabella an apology letter. When she said no way, the counselor gave her this look, like she was being difficult, and said something about taking responsibility regardless of provocation. For what? Telling the truth. She gave the protagonist a worksheet about conflict resolution and empathy building to fill out. It had questions like, how might the other person feel about what happened, and what could you have done differently? She wanted to scream that Isabella was the one who should be filling this out, not her. She stuffed the worksheet in her backpack and never looked at it again. Meanwhile, Isabella's playing this perfectly. She's posting these sad captions on Instagram about healing from betrayal and learning who your real friends are. Her follower count is actually going up. She deleted all her pics with Liam and replaced them with group shots of her surrounded by friends. The comments are all hearts and we love you messages. She even posted this long paragraph about forgiveness and how she's choosing to rise above the negativity. She never mentioned the protagonist by name, but everyone knew who she was talking about. Her mom caught her crying while looking at Instagram and took her phone away for the night. She said social media was just making everything worse. She's probably right, but being disconnected just made her feel even more isolated. When she got back to school, she found out Olivia was telling everyone she manipulated Sophia into showing her private conversations. According to her, the protagonist had been plotting for months to find dirt on Isabella. Sophia tried to defend her at first, but Olivia threatened to tell their parents about Sophia's vaping if she didn't back up the story. Now Sophia won't even look at her in the halls. She tried to talk to Sophia between classes, but Sophia literally turned and walked the other way. Later, Sophia texted her saying she was sorry, but Olivia would make her life hell if she didn't go along with the story. She said their parents would kill her if they found out about the vaping, and Olivia had pictures for proof. The protagonist told her she understood, but it still hurt. The worst part is her parents started fighting about what to do. Her mom thinks she should switch schools for senior year. Her dad says that's letting the bullies win. They have these whispered arguments when they think she can't hear them. She heard her mom crying in their room after a particularly bad argument. She almost went in to comfort her, but she knew it would just make her feel worse to know she heard them fighting. Instead, she texted her a heart emoji with no explanation. Her mom came to her room a few minutes later and just hugged her without saying anything. They both pretended not to notice they'd been crying. She feels so guilty for causing problems at home too. Her little brother Leo is stuck in the middle trying to make dumb jokes at dinner while their mom and dad glare at each other. He's only 14 and shouldn't have to deal with this. He tried to cheer her up by showing her these ridiculous TikToks TikToks he made with his friends. They were actually pretty funny, and for a few minutes she forgot about all the drama. Then he asked if she wanted to be in one with him, and she realized she couldn't risk being on social media at all right now. The look of disappointment on his face made her feel even worse. 3 days after she went back to school, Liam came up to her locker. He asked if they could talk somewhere private, so they went to the empty band room during lunch. She was scared someone would see them together and start more rumors, but also weirdly happy that he wanted to talk to her. He said he wanted to thank her for telling him the truth. He told her Isabella had him completely convinced. She'd even fake thrown up in front of him, disappearing into bathrooms to vomit. She showed him ultrasound photos with his last name edited onto them. He looked so embarrassed, admitting how completely she'd fooled him. When the protagonist asked why he blocked her after thanking her, he said Isabella still had access to his phone and blocked her herself before he changed his passwords. He seemed genuinely sorry about that, which made her feel a little better. He told her Isabella had been telling people she photoshopped all the evidence, but he didn't believe it because the conversations had details from months ago that she couldn't have known. He said he was still processing everything and felt like an idiot for believing her. Things got awkward when he asked if she'd really been obsessed with him. She told him the truth. She had a crush on him, and Isabella knew because she told her. That's what made it hurt so much. He said Isabella told him the protagonist had been stalking both of them since before they started dating. He looked genuinely shocked when she explained how Isabella had been helping her draft text to him while they were secretly dating. She could see him putting the pieces together in his head, realizing just how manipulative she had been to both of them. After their talk, Liam said he believed her, but they probably shouldn't be seen talking at school. He didn't want more drama. She understood, but it still hurt. He checked the hallway before leaving to make sure no one saw them together. That night, she broke down completely. Her mom found her crying and sat with her for hours. She told her everything, not just the Liam Isabella stuff, but how lonely she's been, how she can't take the isolation anymore. Her mom kept stroking her hair like she did when she was little, and for once she didn't try to offer solutions or tell her everything would be okay. She just listened. She suggested she talk to her sister, her Aunt Sarah, who went through something similar in high school. She was skeptical. Adults always think their high school experiences relate to yours, but they're usually clueless. But she was desperate enough to try anything. She called Aunt Sarah the next day after school. She was nervous at first, but she was surprisingly cool about everything. She didn't give her any cheesy it gets better speeches. She actually told her about how her best friend turned everyone against her senior year over a guy, and how she felt like her life was over. She said high school feels like the whole world when you're in it, but in a few years none of this will matter. Easy for her to say when she's 38 with a job and family, but it did help a little to know she'd survived something similar. Aunt Sarah suggested she focus on the people who are still in her corner and ignore everyone else as much as possible. Her grades are tanking because it's impossible to focus. Every time someone whispers in class, she sees they're talking about her. She started sitting in the back row whenever possible, so she doesn't have to feel eyes on her from behind. On Wednesday, she overheard Chloe saying Isabella might transfer schools because of the hostile environment the protagonist had created. The irony is unreal. She wanted to scream that she was the one who created a hostile environment for her. That afternoon in gym class, someone accidentally hit her in the back with a volleyball. She's pretty sure it was one of Isabella's friends, but she couldn't prove it. The gym teacher just told them to be more careful. Her back had a red mark for hours afterward. When she got home, Leo was waiting at the door looking weirdly excited. He said he had a plan to clear her name that involved creating a fake social media account to trick Isabella into admitting she lied. She shut that down immediately. The last thing she needed was to get caught creating fake accounts when that's what people were already accusing her of doing. He looked disappointed, but she explained that fighting fire with fire would just make everything worse. He grudgingly agreed, but said he still thought Isabella deserved karma. She told him karma apparently takes vacations when it comes to popular girls. Things got weird on Thursday when Liam texted asking if they could meet. She was nervous but agreed. Her brother Leo insisted on coming with her and sitting nearby just in case. It was kind of sweet, even if his protective act was ridiculous since he's younger than her. He wore a baseball cap pulled low, like he was some kind of undercover agent, and kept scanning the room dramatically. She had to tell him multiple times to stop staring at Liam and act normal. He ordered a complicated frappuccino thing with extra whipped cream, and then complained it was too sweet. The whole thing would have been funny if she wasn't so stressed about meeting Liam. Liam looked better than at school. He apologized for not standing up for her sooner. He said he'd been confused and embarrassed about the fake pregnancy. He kept fidgeting with his coffee cup. He told her he felt stupid for falling for Isabella's lies. He said the more he thought about it, the more red flags he could see, but at the time he was flattered by her attention. He mentioned that she was always checking his phone and getting upset if he didn't respond to texts right away. They were actually having a good conversation until Isabella walked in with two friends. Not a coincidence. Liam later admitted she follows his location and he forgot to turn it off. She made this big show of being shocked to see them, then loudly told her friends that the protagonist just couldn't leave them alone, even after everything. Leo was halfway out of his seat, looking ready to confront her, but the protagonist gave him a look that said, "Don't you dare." Isabella's friends were taking pictures with their phones, and she knew this would be all over social media within minutes. Liam surprised her by actually standing up to Isabella. He told her to stop spreading lies. He said he knew the truth now, that the protagonist had a crush on him. Isabella knew about it and went after him anyway. He knew she was never pregnant and manipulated everyone. Isabella immediately started crying, saying she couldn't believe he was taking her side after everything they'd been through. Everyone in the coffee shop was staring. Her friends glared at the protagonist like she'd caused the scene. An older woman at the next table was openly watching the whole thing like it was a TV drama. They left quickly. Liam walked them to their car and thanked her again for telling him the truth, even though it cost her so much. He said he wasn't ready for any relationship right now, but hoped they could maybe be friends eventually. Leo was buzzing with excitement the whole way home, saying Liam was actually cool, and Isabella got what she deserved. The protagonist was just exhausted and dreading the fallout that would inevitably come the next day. When she got home, her parents were sitting at the kitchen table, looking serious. The school had called them. Isabella's parents were threatening to file a restraining order against her, claiming she was harassing their daughter by meeting with Liam. They'd somehow found out about the coffee shop within hours. They asked her exactly what happened and she explained everything. How Liam had texted her, how Isabella showed up after they were already there, how she didn't approach her at all. Her dad was taking notes the whole time, his handwriting getting messier as he got more upset. Her parents had another argument that night about how to handle everything. Her mom wanted to be proactive and talk to Isabella's parents directly to defuse the situation. Her dad thought that would make things worse, and wanted to wait and see if they actually filed for a restraining order, or if it was just a threat. She could hear them from her room, their voices rising and falling as they went from discussing logical next steps to venting their frustrations. At one point, her mom started crying, saying she just wanted her happy daughter back. That made the protagonist feel horrible. The next morning at school, someone had taped a pregnancy test to her locker. It was negative, with a note that said, "Unlike some people, I'm not a liar." A teacher saw it and took it down before most people arrived, but a few early students definitely saw it. The teacher asked if she knew who did it, but of course she had no proof. At lunch, she tried sitting with a group of girls she was friendly with, but not close to. They didn't tell her to leave, but they suddenly became very interested in their phones and stopped talking. After 5 minutes of excruciating silence, she made an excuse about forgetting something in her locker and left. The worst part is she's starting to question herself. Was sending those screenshots the right thing to do? Should she have found another way to tell Liam? Should she have just minded her own business and let him figure it out eventually? Her dad says she did what anyone would do when faced with such a massive lie. Her mom says she understands why she did it, but wishes she'd handled it differently. She still doesn't know if she did the right thing. Was it worth it? Liam knows the truth now, but her life is a complete disaster. Her family is stressed and her last year of high school is ruined by this mess. If she could go back, would she still send those screenshots to Liam? She honestly doesn't know, but she's so tired of being the villain in someone else's story. For those who asked, no, she hasn't tried talking to Isabella directly since this all happened. With legal threats being thrown around, she doesn't think that would help anything. Part of her wants to ask her why she did all this, but another part knows there's probably no answer that would satisfy her or make any of this make sense. She'll update if anything major changes. Right now, she's just trying to survive each day and focus on graduating. All she wants is to go somewhere no one knows the story where she can start fresh without being that crazy stalker girl or whatever label they've stuck on her. Thanks for reading all this. It helps to know someone is listening, even if you're all strangers on the internet. Final update. It's been a month since the last update. Sorry for disappearing. She needed time to process everything before writing again. Thanks for all the supportive messages. The Monday after her last post was one of the worst days yet. She walked into school to find people staring at their phones and then looking up at her. Turns out Isabella's friends had posted photos from the coffee shop confrontation with a completely twisted version of what happened. According to their posts, she had ambushed Isabella and Liam had defended her out of pity. There were comments calling her pathetic, psycho, stalker, you name it. She almost turned around and went home, but she knew that would just make things worse. Instead, she put her headphones on, blasted music, and pretended she couldn't hear the whispers as she walked to her locker. That's when she found the note, just the word liar in big letters, taped to her locker. She showed it to the counselor, who basically shrugged and said there was nothing she could do without knowing who put it there. She suggested she was focusing too much on the negative and should move forward. In history class, Miss Chen assigned group projects and no one would make eye contact with her when she asked them to form groups. She ended up having to assign her to a group, and they all looked like they'd been sentenced to community service. During lunch, she hid in the library. The librarian, Miss B. Evans, has always been nice to her. She pretended not to notice she was eating a sandwich behind a book, which is against the rules, and even recommended a novel she thought she'd like. It was a small kindness that meant more than she probably realized. That same day, she got called to the principal's office. Isabella's parents filed an official complaint against her for harassment and bullying. They wanted more punishment beyond her suspension. They claimed she was still spreading rumors and had orchestrated the coffee shop thing to humiliate her. Principal Thompson seemed so done with the whole situation. He barely looked at her while explaining the complaint. He told her without proof of who left the note, he couldn't do anything about that. But any more incidents with Isabella would have serious consequences. When she tried explaining her side, he cut her off and said he'd heard enough from both sides. She left his office feeling like she might throw up. She went straight to the bathroom and called her mom crying. She came right away and demanded to see the principal. The protagonist could hear her yelling through the door. When she came out, she looked mad but satisfied. In the car, she told her that she'd made it clear if the school punished her again without doing anything about the harassment she was getting, they'd be looking at legal options. She didn't tell her that made her even more nervous. The last thing she wanted was to become the girl whose mom sued the school. That would just make the target on her back even bigger. That night, they had this family meeting in the living room. Her dad made it official by turning off the TV and making Leo put his phone away. They said they were worried about how this was affecting all of them. Her mom admitted she wasn't sleeping. Her dad said he was distracted at work. Her mom asked what she wanted to do. Keep fighting, switch schools, or something else. She honestly didn't know. Her mom and dad agreed to give her time to think about it. They wouldn't make any decisions without her input. The next day at school, she kept her head down and tried to be invisible. It mostly worked until gym class when they had to choose teams for volleyball. She was the last person picked, and even then, the team captain rolled her eyes like she was being forced to take her. During the game, no one would pass to her, even when she was in the best position. She pretended not to care, but it was humiliating. After school, she had therapy with Dr. Mason. She finally told her the whole truth about everything, including finding the pregnancy information on Sophia's computer. She was afraid she'd judge her, but she just listened without interrupting. When she finished, she said something that actually helped. You're not responsible for other people's lies, only for how you respond to them. That weekend, her parents took them to visit her grandparents in the next town over. It was actually a relief to be somewhere different with people who didn't know about any of the drama. Her grandma fussed over how thin she looked and kept trying to feed her while her grandpa taught Leo some card tricks. For a few hours, things felt almost normal. Sunday night, Liam texted her asking how she was doing. They ended up texting for hours. He told her more about his relationship with Isabella, how controlling she'd been, checking his phone constantly, getting upset if he spent time with friends without her. He said the pregnancy lie was the most extreme thing, but looking back, he could see she'd been manipulating him all along. He apologized again for believing her lies about the protagonist and for not standing up sooner. He seemed genuinely remorseful, which helped heal some of the hurt. They agreed to be cautious, but maybe try being friends. He suggested they could study together sometime somewhere off campus to avoid drama. Monday morning, she felt slightly better about things. Having Liam believe her and apologize made a difference, even if the rest of the school still thought she was crazy. But when she got to first period, she noticed people looking at their phones, and then at her again. Her stomach dropped. Someone had created a fake profile using her name and picture on a dating app. The profile said she was looking for pregnancy roleplay and other disgusting stuff. Screenshots were circulating all over school. She wanted to die of embarrassment. She went straight to the counselor's office, but she was with another student. The secretary took one look at her face and let her wait in the empty conference room instead of the main office where everyone could see her crying. When she finally saw Miss Barnes, she looked uncomfortable, but said since it was created outside of school, there wasn't much they could do. She asked if they could at least make an announcement that it wasn't her, but she said that would just draw more attention to it. She called her mom from the office and she came to pick her up. She couldn't face the rest of the day with everyone thinking she created that profile. In the car, her mom was furious. She wanted to go straight to Isabella's house and confront her parents, but the protagonist begged her not to. That would just make everything worse. Instead, they went home and reported the fake profile to the dating app. They said they'd investigate, but who knows how long that would take. Her dad came home early when her mom called him, and they spent the evening making calls to a lawyer friend, to the school board, even to the local police to see if this qualified as identity theft or harassment. The police officer they spoke to wasn't very helpful. He said unless there were specific threats, it was a school issue, not a criminal one. Her dad was frustrated, but her mom pointed out that involving police would just escalate everything even more. That night, she couldn't sleep. She kept imagining everyone at school looking at those screenshots, thinking that was really her. Around 2:00 a.m., she went downstairs for some water and found her dad still up, researching cyber harassment laws on his laptop. He looked so tired but determined. It made her feel both loved and guilty for causing so much trouble. The next morning, she forced herself to go back to school. Her mom offered to let her stay home, but she knew hiding would just make the rumors worse. She put on her most confident outfit, black jeans, boots, and the denim jacket she always get compliments on, like armor. In English, Miss Davis paired them for peer editing, and everyone shifted anxiously when he called her name. He ended up partnering her with Ava, a quiet girl who usually sits in the back. To her surprise, Ava was actually normal with her. She didn't act weird or avoid eye contact. She just asked about her essay and gave thoughtful feedback. When class ended, she mentioned she'd seen the fake profile and knew it wasn't really her because the writing style was completely different. It was such a small thing, but knowing even one person didn't believe the worst about her felt huge. At lunch, she was heading to the library again when Liam texted asking if she wanted to meet in the music practice rooms. They're small soundproofed rooms where band kids practice, but they're usually empty during lunch. She agreed even though she was nervous about being seen with him. They sat on the floor sharing his earbuds, listening to a new album he thought she'd like. They didn't talk much about the drama, which was a relief. It was just 30 minutes of normal teenage stuff, music, complaining about homework, talking about movies. When the bell rang, he checked the hallway before they left, and they went in opposite directions. That weekend, Liam asked if she wanted to go hiking at the state park with him and his cousin who was visiting from college. It wasn't exactly a date, but it was a chance to hang out away from school drama. Her mom was hesitant, but agreed after she promised to keep her phone on and text her every hour. The hike was exactly what she needed. Fresh air, physical activity, and conversation that had nothing to do with high school nonsense. Liam's cousin Ben was cool and treated her normally since he didn't know anything about the drama. For a few hours, she remembered what it felt like to just be a regular teenager. When Liam dropped her off, he awkwardly asked if she might want to go to a movie sometime. Just the two of them. She said yes before she could overthink it. He looked relieved and smiled, the first genuine smile she'd seen from him in weeks. Monday at school, things took another turn. The fake dating profile had been taken down, but now there were rumors that she was secretly dating Liam. Someone had seen them at the state park and jumped to conclusions. By third period, Isabella had heard about it. She cornered the protagonist in the bathroom between classes. For a minute, she thought she might actually hit her. She looked so angry. Instead, she just stared at her and said she would regret trying to steal her boyfriend. The protagonist pointed out that he wasn't her boyfriend anymore and she wasn't pregnant either. Her face got all blotchy and she stormed out without washing her hands. At lunch, she told Liam about the bathroom confrontation. He looked worried and suggested maybe they should cool things off for a while. She felt disappointed but understood his reasoning. The last thing either of them needed was more drama. When she got home, Isabella had posted another vague Instagram about girls who don't respect relationships and karma coming for liars. She didn't tag her, but everyone knew who she meant. The comments were full of her friends posting supportive messages and snake emojis. The protagonist decided to delete Instagram from her phone again. She didn't need to see that toxic stuff. The next morning, someone had written boyfriend stealer on her locker in Sharpie. The janitor tried to clean it off, but you could still see the ghost of the words. The principal saw it and finally seemed to take things more seriously. He called her to his office and asked if she knew who might have done it. She said she had her suspicions, but no proof. He surprised her by saying they would review the hallway security footage. After school, Liam texted to check in. Despite his suggestion to cool things off, he still wanted to make sure she was okay after the locker incident. They ended up talking on the phone for an hour that night. He told her Isabella had been texting him constantly, sometimes angry, sometimes apologizing, sometimes threatening to tell everyone he pressured her into faking the pregnancy. He finally blocked her number. The next day at school, she was called back to Principal Thompson's office. To her shock, Isabella was there too, looking sullen. The principal informed them that the security footage showed Isabella writing on her locker. She was being given in-school suspension for vandalism and harassment. Isabella didn't even try to deny it. She just glared at the protagonist like this was somehow her fault. The principal warned them both that any further incidents would result in more serious consequences. He also mentioned that her previous suspension was being reviewed in light of new information. She left his office feeling vindicated but also nervous about potential backlash. If Isabella was angry before, she would be furious now. But at least the school was finally taking action, instead of dismissing everything. When she told her parents about the suspension, they were cautiously optimistic. Her dad said it was about time the school did something, while her mom worried it would just make Isabella more determined to retaliate. The next few days were strangely quiet. Isabella was in-school suspension, and without her actively stirring things up, the drama seemed to die down a bit. People still whispered sometimes, but it felt less intense. Ivy and she worked on their English project together, and Liam and she continued their secret lunch meetings in the practice rooms. On Friday, Liam officially asked her to go to a movie with him on Saturday. Not as friends, but as a date. She said yes, even though she was nervous about how people would react. They agreed to go to a theater in the next town over to avoid running into anyone from school. The date was both wonderful and awkward. They were both so nervous that they barely talked during the first half of the movie. But afterward, over pizza, the conversation finally started flowing. They talked about everything. Their families, their plans after graduation, their favorite music. It felt normal and nice. He held her hand as they walked back to his car, and she didn't even worry about who might see them. When he dropped her off, they sat in his car talking for another hour. He apologized again for believing Isabella's lies and explained how manipulative she had been throughout their relationship. When he finally kissed her goodnight, it felt like the first good thing to happen in months. Of course, by Monday morning, someone had spotted them at the pizza place, and word had spread. Whispers started again as soon as she walked into school. In the bathroom, she overheard two girls discussing whether she had stolen Liam from Isabella or if he was just using her to make her jealous. Neither considered that maybe they actually liked each other. Isabella was back from suspension and clearly knew about the date. She walked past her in the hallway and deliberately bumped her shoulder hard enough to make her drop her books. She didn't say anything, just gave her a cold look and kept walking. At lunch, Ava waved her over to her table. As she sat down, she quietly warned her that Isabella and her friends were planning something. She didn't know what exactly, but she'd overheard them talking about teaching her a lesson. The protagonist thanked her for the warning and tried to act normal through lunch, but inside she was panicking. After school, she told Liam about Ava's warning. He looked worried and offered to drive her home. As they walked to the parking lot, they saw Isabella and three of her friends waiting by her usual route. Liam put his arm around her shoulders and walked confidently past them. They didn't do anything except glare, but it was intimidating nonetheless. In the car, Liam suggested they should just go public with their relationship. He argued that sneaking around made it seem like they had something to hide, which just fed into Isabella's narrative. She was scared of the backlash, but agreed it might be better than constantly looking over their shoulders. The next day, they walked into school together, not hiding the fact that they were now a couple. Isabella's reaction was exactly what she expected. By lunch, she had posted a long, dramatic Instagram story. She didn't name names, but included enough details that everyone knew who she meant. Her friends were shooting daggers at them in the cafeteria. That weekend, Liam and the protagonist went to the mall together, openly as a couple. They ran into a few people from school, but most just nodded and went about their business. Someone took a picture of them, probably to send to her, but they decided not to care. Her parents have relaxed a little as things have improved. Her mom still checks in more than she used to, but she's not hovering constantly. Her dad has been teaching her to drive his car on weekends, which gives them time to talk without directly discussing all the drama. Yesterday was the last day of school before break. As she was cleaning out her locker, Chloe walked by with some other girls. Instead of the usual dirty looks, she just nodded. The summer starts tomorrow. She's focusing on her driving test, getting ready for college applications, and trying to rebuild her life. Her family is closer now. She knows who her real friends are. Not many, but that's okay. And she's learned more about herself than she wanted to. If anyone's in a similar situation, her only advice is to find at least one person who believes you. And remember that high school, even though it feels like your whole world right now is temporary, the people who matter will eventually see the truth. Thanks for reading to her mess of a story. It helped more than you know.